Andy Liu. In the fourth quarter, Stan Van Gundy is saying, "Ooh, I like that." They put the ball in Steph's hands and just let him go one-on-one. And I'm just sitting here and I'm going,
What have you done?
does he know? Does he know? Oh.
I spent the weekend catching up on some old movies, and I watched The Dark Knight. Can I just say that The Dark Knight is about 1,000,000 times better than the latest Batman, which I thought, in retrospect, is pretty bad. But back to the Warriors-Lakers. Does he know? Let me ask you a better question. Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know that the Warriors, after Steph went for 50 points because the ball was in his hands the entire game, dribbled the most that he's ever had, should probably have the ball more against a defense that's, geared up to stop him. LeBron knows what the offense is that the Warriors are trying to run. So it felt like the Warriors are now the ones that run feel-out games, Sam. So there you go. Get us going.
Complete feel-out game is my take on it, which is frustrating because I think the Lakers are good. I think AD specifically poses unique problems for them. And I don't know that they can play those type of games, or at least, you lose game one at home, a game you had a chance to win, and you're thinking, did we leave an opportunity on the floor? But we knew. Did Andy know? Andy knew. You knew the Warriors were going to come out, run their base stuff, see how the Lakers were playing, and they weren't really going to make adjustments. They were going to try to go for it at the end, and they'll adjust moving forward. And that's the game played out exactly like I expected it to.
Yep.
The Lakers owned the paint.
Yep.
The Warriors owned the three-point line, and at least for today, Anthony Davis is the best player on the floor.
Yeah. I think the Lakers knew that the Warriors were going to go this way. I think they knew that the Warriors weren't going to make some crazy adjustments in the first game of the series. Anthony Davis told Chris Haynes before the game that this is a must-win game. He mentioned how they wanted to steal home court advantage, stuff like that. But I also think that they know that this is a game that they could steal. This is a game that they knew the Warriors weren't. It's not that the Warriors weren't ready. It's that the Warriors were always going to run their pet stuff, their core basic offense and defense, and not change until they're down 12 with 5 minutes to go, right? Or they're down 1-0 in a series, which is both things that happen. Now, I think also on top of that, Steph was bad. Draymond was terrible in the first half. The guys just played bad. I don't blame this necessarily all on Steve Kerr, but it felt like something that if you've watched this Warriors team the last few seasons and really for the last 8 years, you knew this exactly how it was going to go. And I do think that the old Warriors team was good enough to win these type of games, right? Clay probably hit more shots. Steph probably hits more shots. Andre Iguodala is probably out there in the end getting a stop instead of having Jordan Poole.
A little better on defense, a little better decision making, a little better in the margins. Yeah, but you know what? It's not that team. So, to your point, honestly, it went the way I thought. I'm not down on this series. I didn't see anything tonight they didn't know was coming. I didn't walk away from this going, oh my God, D'Lo. It's a problem I hadn't factored in my head, If anything, I was kind of frustrated they didn't try to pick on D'Lo, for example. But I want to start on kind of the best player on the court tonight, who was a Laker, Anthony Davis. We'll talk Steph. We'll talk everyone else. Anthony Davis was dominant for them. And the question is going to shift to how do the Warriors slow him down? I think that's the first thing you're going to kind of look at.
Right.
And I feel like offensively, he hit a bunch of jumpers in the first half that I'm just going to look, man, if he's going to hit a bunch of those mid-range shots, I don't really know what you want to do. I'd rather he take those than dunk all over you get to the free throw line, right? So I don't necessarily know that they need to make a huge adjustment the way they're guarding him, other than probably put Draymond on him a little more. I think the question is how they want to attack him on defense, because that is where he stood out. They seemed too timid attacking him. Obviously, they're a 3-point shooting team. Like, by default, that's the first thing they want to do. But they just seemed afraid to go inside on him. He might be the best interior defender in the league. He's certainly playing like it right now. But you can't make it that easy. You can't be that deferential.
The biggest moments, some of the biggest obvious moments of what you're talking about was Andrew Wiggins getting the ball at the bucket and just completely turning the other way and shooting like a 6-foot hook shot and just going off the side of the rim. Steph was attacking. Steph was getting blocked. He got blocked a few times by
Right.
AD but then Andrew Wiggins, I mean on the other side, then started to decide to get offensive rebounds, and he got 3 in a row there at the end of the game. Like, there are ways to attack Anthony Davis. It's not like he's this unstoppable force. He played 44 minutes tonight. He wears down, right? Especially at the end of the game. So you're right. I think that offensively they were fine. AD offensively, they were fine with what he was doing. The offensive rebounds, I think, were probably the worst part. But that's just kind of par for the course with playing guys like that. I'm with you though.
4. I mean, like, yeah, you'd rather it be lower, but Looney at 7, just for perspective.
Yeah. It's backbreaking when you can't get stops. And I think the Warriors tonight, they were pretty. 29 free throws. You could talk about how bad the refs were. I thought they was so happy for sure. But I didn't. The Warriors weren't playing good defense. They just weren't on anyone. And I think part of that, actually, you know what? I'm not going to get into it yet until later. But do you think it's a fatigue thing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because they look like they were out of it from the second quarter to third quarter and then midway through the fourth before they picked it up.
Yeah. And that's where we're at. Like, the Lakers came out with a little more urgency on this one. And maybe part of that was just fatigue. Like, end of the day, that's why it was so infuriating. They lost game 6. They had to play game 7. Shocker. The Lakers were a little fresher tonight than the Warriors were. I actually thought that Warriors energy was pretty good, all things considered. But you know what? They still played one game 2 days ago, and the Lakers have had 4 days off. So, advantage LA going forward. I do think the Warriors, the thing that stands out to me in the box score, the other thing is AD played 44 minutes. Yep. He did look gassed at the end. Yep. Doesn't mean he didn't make a couple plays, but Warriors were getting some rebounds over him at the end that they probably wouldn't have gotten the first half. Wiggins specifically, you know what I'm saying? And that's where their long game strategy, like, we'll see, we'll see if it works out. But like you know what they're going, you know exactly what the strategy is.
Yes, let me read some of the minute totals out to you because let's talk about this. Draymond Green 34 minutes, Kevon Looney 29, Andrew Wiggins 34, Steph Curry 38, Klay Thompson 37, GB2 12, Dante 12, and Jordan Poole 30 with a +7, by the way, who was incredible tonight. Nobody on the Warriors at 40 minutes. Nobody within 2 minutes of 40 minutes. Steph was the closest one, only played 38. LeBron James played 40. Austin Reeves 39. I mean, he's fine. Really, the most importantly for the Warriors is AD 44, LeBron 40. Yeah. The Warriors have done this over and over and over and over again. They did this to Houston. They did this to Portland. They would do this understanding that teams are always going to go 44 minutes at the beginning of games. You talked about before the series started that the Warriors are going to push tempo. The Warriors pushed tempo tonight. They did find ways to push tempo. That's why the score is at 117 to 112. So I thought they did a good job doing that. So it does bode well for them, Sam, and if this series goes to 5, 6, and then 7, because there's only 1 day of rest between each one. The frustrating part, though, is you're now down 1-1 in the series. But
yeah. I mean, it's
they do this every time.
I will be worked up when they do this in game 4.
No shot.
Or something along those lines. Right now, I can't get myself overly worked up. Let's go down the line. You mentioned Jordan Poole. What a redemption game for him. Like, not going to mince words. That Sacramento series was a nightmare for him. Honestly, the worst I've seen him play in basketball that like matters in I mean, he was good in the playoffs last year. He really was, and he was terrible against Sacramento. Against the Lakers, the Lakers put a lot of attention on Steph and Clay. We'll talk about that in a minute, particularly with Vanderbilt and like sending two bodies at Steph as often as they did. They dared someone else to beat him. Jordan Poole did exactly. Jordan Poole basically had a throwback 2022 performance where they're just like, "Oh, you're gonna put guys on Steph? I can cook too," you know. I thought he was excellent. Unfortunately, he missed that one at the end. I don't know. Part of it was just like, yeah, they can't steal this game the way they played it the whole way. But like, I do think overall, this is going to be a Jordan Poole series, and I actually want to throw this out there. We'll get to it in a minute. I think this is going to be a good series for Andrew Wiggins too. If they're going to guard Stephen Clay like that, they're daring everyone else to beat him, and those guys can do it.
Those guys can do it. Thanks for saying that. 30 minutes for Poole. 6'3", 6 for 11. Most important thing I saw from him. Look at that 0 next to the turnover column. You see that 0 right there? 0 turnovers for Jordan Poole tonight in 30 minutes. On the other side, Steph at 5, right? So, probably the best Jordan Poole game I've seen this season, considering the stakes. He kept them afloat in the second quarter, and then late in the game hit a big 3. I didn't mind the 3 he took at the end. I was more concerned about the drive that he had, the possession before that, where he's just driving right into AD and just gets blocked. Who could have seen that coming? But outside of that, dude, this was one of the best, probably Jordan Poole's best game this season. Under control. Like, there was no, hey, I'm going to drive into 3 guys and throw it up type of stuff from him. So his defense was not great, but I also think that you can live with that against D'Lo, Schroeder, and Reeves. Like, I don't like, they're not. I was gonna say, not Fox.
They don't really have a way to punish his defense the way the Kings do. The Kings made you like, God, can we have him on the floor? You know, because they're just going to pick on him, and it's going to be over and over again. The Lakers present a different issue. It's more like, you know, they want to throw it inside to AD or honestly to LeBron on the block, that sort of thing. It's not, let's cook the guard who can't defend as much.
It's not. And not to say like D'Lo had probably the biggest basket of the game and Schroeder had 25 free throws. So I'm not saying he's playing great defense, but he can stay on the floor, right? Like, he can stay on the floor against those guys. And if he can stay on the floor, he's going to have a better time offensively against his team. So I think it's probably not the right game to do this, but I do think the biggest difference between this Warriors team versus some of the old Warriors team is with Jordan Poole, you're not getting the type of IQ that you're getting from someone like Andre Iguodala closing. It's just it is what, but that's the difference between closing a game out like this and all of a sudden now you're down 0-1. To me, it's just it's like having 2 Klay Thompsons out there. It's just 2 dudes that are just doing anything when it's just pass the ball back to Steph. Right? Steph throws to Draymond. Again, it's probably not the right game to do this, but it's a pretty simple. Steph passes to Draymond. Draymond passes to Poole. Steph comes off with Draymond's screen. Get it to Steph for 3. Like, it's simple, but of course, Poole's going to shoot that 30-footer. I'm just saying they've won many championships with guys like Andre that make the right defensive play. That
they have Andre. They have Andre. They're blown out in this game before it even starts because Poole got him back into it. You could argue whether it matters.
I'm just saying the difference between those teams that close games out and this team now, that's the difference, is that they just have more offense than defense and they're way less smart on the court. It's just the facts. But that's how the Warriors are built now, right? This is I can imagine them starting Jordan Poole actually at some point in this series over Kevon Looney. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. And it might be a good thing because Draymond at the 5, man, that was the right adjustment. It just made the game go haywire, and that always works for the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing we talk about. Looney individually, I thought Looney played well. 23 rebounds. Like, look, man, at this point, he might be Bill Russell. You know, like, it's just anytime I don't see like 18 in the rebound column, I'm like, oh, is he sick? What's wrong? You know, that sort of thing. The question is, can they play him and Draymond together against a Laker team with that much size and defense? And I don't know how much they can. They're going to have to do it a little bit because those are 2 of your 5 best players, period, you know? But like, I do think it's going to be a series where they want to go one big more and more, almost in a completely different way, but just how the Sacramento series went. And to your point, like, as amazing as Looney is, Draymond guards AD a lot better. And everyone knows AD doesn't like Draymond guarding him. And he could say whatever you want. You could say his numbers. It's just watch. What he doesn't like how Draymond gets under him. And at the end of the game, yeah, AD was a little bothered by it. And then to your point, just offensively, yes, removing one of those guys for an offensive threat makes them more dangerous. It's just a fact. But
Draymond. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, but like that's kind of the that's the tough thing they have to figure out, because you want both those guys on the floor for the obvious size rebounding reason, but it's hard to play both of them because of the disadvantage they put you on the other end of the floor.
Yes.
Against the Lakers' size.
Unless they give the ball to Steph, which
True.
they didn't until 8 minutes to go, right? So those were the big adjustments: was give the ball to Steph, have him just run more action instead of him just getting an envelope by Jared Vanderbilt, and then just play Draymond at the 5, where he was disgustingly bad through 3 quarters. So I thought he was point shaving. It was like watching Jordan Poole against the Kings tonight. That's the level of performance Draymond was throwing out there. I don't know what was going on, but he comes back in the 4th quarter, and to your point, he can guard AD one-on-one. Now, maybe you don't want to start him off on it because he might get into foul trouble. He was in foul trouble tonight, but that's something that the Warriors will have to go to, because I think you can just go with Wiggins at the 4 against LeBron. There wasn't really anything we saw from LeBron tonight that was like, oh, he's going to be a problem.
Isn't it weird watching LeBron kind of play like a Super Iguodala role in some ways? Like,
oh wow, it's good. That's a good call.
I mean, he's still good, but having seen LeBron against the Warriors many, many times, I mean, this was more of I'm a big dude with IQ as opposed to I'm going to assert my will at all times performance.
It's getting to the point where I'm waiting for LeBron to take over and make some of these shots and make some of these plays, and he's still making some. But I watched that Memphis series tonight, and I'm just thinking, man, this might be who he is. Yeah. Like, he might make a couple more threes. I mean, he's 9 for 24, 1 for 8 from 3. But this just might be who he is. He also can't really move defensively outside of hunting blocks and hunting steals. And
if it's not a straight line, he looks slow, right?
It's weird. It's weird. And the Warriors, of course, didn't do anything to hunt him because
those are things where I'm just like, that annoys me, because I'm like, the game was right there. You could have had this game. You could have picked on him just a little more. But yeah, get back to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it's the Warriors, right? Everything really comes back down to, well, there are these 6 things the Warriors probably could have done better that they knew that they could have adjusted to, but of course they didn't. And they wait, and now they have to. Now it's a must win, right, on Thursday, because it's not like you're losing 2 road games and then you can go home and win both. The Warriors lost a home game. They got to win the next one.
Yeah, coming into this game, LeBron was shooting 19.5% from 3 in the playoffs.
Those things aren't close, by the way. Not even close. Those shots.
So now he went 1 for 8 tonight. So now he's basically shooting 10% from 3. I think it's 12%. I don't know if it's just going to come around, but like, it's noticeable. Like, at one point, do they give him the Ben Simmons defense? You know, like that sort of thing where, you know, they just don't think he wants to shoot the ball, but it does feel like something they can take advantage of. Particularly because they're going to play him 40 plus minutes. They're not going to take LeBron off the floor. And he looks tired at the end of games because they play him the whole way. They should attack him. I actually like this point from Henry Wong. This is my general point. Warriors played too polite tonight. They played it like a feel-out game. The Lakers played it like they wanted to win the game. I don't think it's more complicated than that.
53 threes.
Mm-hmm.
53 threes. They took 106 shots, so perfectly 50% of their shots were from 3. And they made 21 of them and lost the game because they shot 40% from the field. So it's when you talk about being too polite, there was just the Warriors get called so often a 3-point shooting team through this dynasty, and we know that they're not necessarily just a 3-point shooting team, right? They've been great cutting. They've been great getting free looks at the rim. This team feels this season just like a live and die by the three type of team, which is why.
And they're good enough shooting that it still makes you think it could work, but it's obviously you want a little more diversity.
I mean, literally tonight, that's what happened. Down 12, 6 minutes, then they down 14. They roll off on a 16-2 run or something like that, and you're like, just good enough. And then they just missed all their threes at the end because that's what they are right now. They're just a 3-point shooting team. They had nothing at the rim.
No, yeah, all right. Let me ask you this: Does Game 2 turn into a must-win? You just kind of played a ho-hum, feel-out Game 1 at home. No one playing over 37 minutes, and you gave the Lakers home court. Do you have to win Game 2 now?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would imagine is Steph probably plays 42, right, in Game 2. The quick turnarounds in this series are a little. I'm going to need you to explain this to me, but it's a little baffling to me that this series is every other game. It's a little. It might end up favoring the Warriors, but it's a little.
Wow. That's what happens when you go to Game 7. That's the way series always go. They have to be finished by the following Sunday. So if you take care of your business early, you'll start your series on Saturday or Sunday, and you could bake in a couple extra days. If you fuck around, which they did against Sacramento, and you have to play Game 7 on Sunday, you have 13 days to play 7 games. There's not really any other way around it. It's not new to this year. It's how it's always been. The difference is the Warriors have never gone 7 in round 1. That's the difference. They've never put themselves in this kind of hole. Yeah, they went 7 in the Western Conference Finals against OKC, but the NBA Finals are more spaced out. The conference finals and conference semis and the conference finals are always 2 weeks. So you better take care of your business early. Otherwise, you're going to be in these situations where fatigue is a real factor.
I feel a AD stinker is going to come in Game 2. It's what happened against Memphis. They kind of just went out there and just said, well, we stole home court advantage. Let's kind of just go home and let's keep it moving, right? Part of me feels like that's probably what we're going to get from the Lakers. You know how AD is. He's on and off. He's on and off. When he's on, he's goddamn tonight. I mean, he's the best player on the court. He's amazing. But then when he's off, the Warriors could win Game 2 by 30 points, which is what Memphis did. I think the quick turnaround ends up favoring the Warriors, which is why JaMychal Green played 8 minutes tonight. Right? I want
to say that the chat's asked this now 3 times. Jamike getting more minutes than Joku kind of says the quiet part out loud from our guy William Mitchell. And I saw like 3 other questions about Joku getting no minutes. Jonathan Kuminga. I'm a little surprised. I kind of thought Kuminga was going to get run. I'm a little surprised, but I'm also not surprised by that. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I got some thoughts. First off, JaMychal Green was fine tonight. I mean, he's in there really only to do 2 things: get a couple of rebounds and shoot and make some threes. He did one of them. He couldn't get a rebound, but made a couple of threes. Also doesn't really do anything wrong. Doesn't try to do too much. He just kind of spaces out and shoots it. And if he doesn't, he just runs back on defense, right? And I think Kuminga, we saw Marcus Thompson's piece. There were 2 guys that Steph was singling out as being selfish: Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga. Jordan Poole plays tonight, and he plays like a completely different person. He was good in Game 7 too. Obviously not as good tonight. And then the other guy is Kuminga. And I think Kuminga's the other guy where it's like, well, dude, like you're selfish. You act like you want to do all this stuff. You're not good enough. So take a seat on the bench. I don't mind it because it's not like he's been playing well. But they might have to give him a shot because the Warriors looked exhausted in the 3rd quarter. And then they brought in GP2, they brought in Poole, and the energy turned up. And I was like, oh, this is great. Moody, right? They brought in some young legs, and they turned the energy up. And isn't that what Kuminga's for? But not when he's being a teenager. Dude, it's the playoffs right now, man.
Yeah, he needs
acting like a child.
I don't know. You don't know that he's doing anything. Well,
I don't know. It was reported. So I'm just going off of that. I mean, if Steph's telling you to get on the bus or not.
I mean, my thing is they could use his size and athleticism if he wants to rebound the ball. And recently, he's not been rebounding the ball.
He's never rebounded the ball.
He rebounded a bunch during the season, but he goes through these stretches. That's the thing that's annoying about him. He goes through this like 2-week stretch where you're just like, I'm locked in, and you're like, you see it, and then next thing you know, it's 12 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, like that sort of thing. So we'll see. I do. Well, they're not going to throw him out there in game 2. I'm sorry. It's
right. If it was going to be this, I mean, I'm with you. I thought he played tonight too. Like I thought he'd get your Michael Green's minutes, but
yeah. All right, we got a special guest who I'm sure will take off the stream within 30 seconds. Our guy, Domin.
Oh, let's go. What's up, brother?
I better see you when they lose game 2. That's all I'm gonna say.
What are you light years dickheads crying about today?
Foul calls.
Nah, I don't think
people are bitching about that. People are bitching about that online. This has been like a really cool clash of styles. Like just the difference in number of 3-pointers that Golden State put up versus free throw line. Like that's gonna be a fun thing to track. Andrea, come on, we're friends. But I feel like this series the momentum of this series is going to shift a lot. Like there's things to feel uncomfortable about by both sides right now. Like I think if you look at the last half of the fourth quarter where the Lakers offense just completely sputtered, the Warriors are going to look at that tape. Lakers are going to have to find a solution, for that kind of thing. The one thing I wanted to know from you guys is, how do you see the Draymond and Looney stuff happening? Because I love both of them, but I think that is what unlocked AD more than anything, is those minutes when Draymond and Looney were together. So AD could play free safety where he's the best and most dominant defensively. And that lets him do that and gets way more comfortable, way more in a rhythm. And then when he's in that groove, he's the best defender in the NBA.
The comments hate you, by the way. So
good.
Then
good. I want this. You bitches.
The goons hate you. At some point, the Warriors are going to go back to Draymond at the 5. I think that's probably what gets them to win this. In the end, I think that's what wins them this series. But Draymond was also playing for the Lakers for the first 36 minutes of the game. So it's a hard matchup for him too. Like it's kind of unfair to say like, hey, like he's like it's just a hard matchup.
Well, they don't have the wing size of other teams where like playing him at the 5, right, you have cover. Like it's just Wiggins. Wiggins the only guy who's above 6'6".
And then are you playing Steph and Poole and Clay, or are you playing like GP2, right? Like there just might not be enough defense when you go with him at the 5. Like the Warriors went with him at the 5, but it was Steph, Clay, and Poole. That's you don't have enough defense.
This is the one thing that people who don't watch the Warriors all the time and just have this impression, like a character of them, they play a lot of non-shooters. It's like deceptive. And this has always been the case for like their run. And so those are those situations where, okay, the Lakers can load up. I love how Vanderbilt played today. Vando is just like the way he guarded Steph. Nobody can guard Steph, right? For players at this level, you can't guard them, but you can make it a little bit more difficult. And I thought he was awesome. I'm curious how the Warriors on the flip side, Vando can't shoot, right? He was 1 from 3 from today, but the Warriors are going to let him
that
do
3 he hit felt like a backbreaker because it's like they clearly didn't want to guard him and hit a shot, and he hit one right at that moment.
Draymond level 3.
I think it's worth noting that the Lakers were 10 for 20 on mid-range shots this game, which kind of matched my eye test. I didn't, as good as AD was defensively, he kind of just lived with those like 15-footers, those 8-footers. Yeah. He didn't have one of his games where you're like, God, he's putting everyone in foul trouble, attacking, that type of thing.
By the way, everybody in the comments bitching about the refs should know that anybody other than Draymond gets tossed that game. So relax.
Can't go.
I mean, it might have been better off if Draymond was tossed. Considering.
All right, let me ask you this, Dom, before we get you out of here. I think the most jarring thing, and like obviously I watched the whole Memphis series, but the most jarring thing is kind of watching LeBron. Obviously still good, But look, we've seen a lot of playoff LeBron against the Warriors, and this is not that. And I don't really know how to process his performance and like, is this going to get better or is this just who he is at this point?
So the foot is a real thing, right? This is not the, him showing up in a cast at the game 4, was it, when they got swept? No, this foot's a real thing. And his jump shot since he got back has been bad. Like, this is not just a playoff thing. Ever he played a few games at the end of the regular season, his jump shot is completely gone. And I think actually the Warriors should go full like Draymond and completely disrespect him from that point of view, because LeBron has not made shots. Even the games that he's had where he was really good in Memphis, there's that game where it was game 4 or whatever game they went up. He made those big baskets driving to the hoop. He couldn't rise up and make jump shots. And that I am not expecting that to come back. Now, you guys were talking about AD. The one thing I'll push back on, AD's offense in the Memphis series kind of went up and down. But his defense, I was surprised. His defense was really consistent all series. Okay. The only game they kind of dropped was game 5 back in Memphis, where they kind of just no-showed. But game 3 was actually, I'm like messing up games now, or whatever game they lost in Memphis, I think game 2. AD was horrible offensively that game after a really good game 1, but he was still really good defensively. He did 5 blocks. So I think as long as AD doesn't like his legs don't go, because he's playing, he played 43 minutes today. I really expect that his defense stays at a pretty good level. It's his offense that I think is going to vacillate more.
But I think I'm okay with that. I think if you're the Warriors, you're okay. They can't. It's really hard for the Warriors to win a game if AD is going to hit shots and have 30 points. It's just this was the game. Sam and I talked about this in the series preview. If this is what AD is going to do, it's going to be hard to win.
You have to, from a Warriors perspective, and Daman, appreciate you. I'll get you out on this note. I feel like you have to win if you score over 110 points. The Lakers are not special offensively. They are very good defensively, and they should be able, like, I expect these, if this series ends up in game 6, game 7, and that type of thing, I expect the games to be like 88, 94, that type of stuff.
For sure.
But when you score 112, you should win against this Laker team. And, it didn't happen tonight because AD had it going offensively, to Andy's point. All right.
And I'll say really, like, at the end of the day, the way I felt about this game, I thought it was more important for the Lakers to win, because they needed, if they were going to ever have real momentum in this series, it would have started tonight. Otherwise, I think this series could have kind of slipped away a little.
Well,
it's going 7.
You got your feel out game.
Curry was filling it out, so we're okay.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks you, sir.
Oh, all right. To the goons, Andy. To the goons.
Let's go.
This is Jacob calling in from Boston, Massachusetts. I can't call in tonight because I got to be up at 6 a.m. But this was a stupid one. We're still going to win the series, but even in Jordan Poole's best game of the postseason, he finds a way to lose the game for the team. The officiating was horrendous. Free throw discrepancy is disgusting. Not sure how that's not a jump ball at the end. Not sure how Steph Curry can't get a single foul shot to save his life. You've got Dennis Schroeder getting the Malik Monk whistle.
Crazy.
Whatever. Gave up home court, but whatever. Dubs in 6.
In 6. Wow.
I appreciate the confidence, Jacob. Hang in there. We didn't talk about the refs. I'm not a ref guy until, of course, I become a ref guy. But currently, I don't feel like a ref guy. What did you think of the whistle? Were you infuriated by it, or?
Yeah, it was annoying, right? You know what it felt like? It felt like a regular season whistle. Really is what it was. They're calling these foul calls like it was a mid-December game. I mean, come on, it's a playoffs.
Mark Davis whistle.
Jeez, this is the postseason. Let these dudes play some basketball, man. They're calling these rip-through fouls on D'Lo coming off screens. Shit's not basketball, dude. Go let these guys play hoop.
Schroeder is.
Oh,
I'm in my feel out mode because I'm going to be really mad about that guy by game 4.
Yeah. Are you going to keep calling? Are they going to keep calling those calls in game 4, game 5, game 6? I'd hope not.
He didn't get free throws for this one, but when he flopped when JP was trying to get open and they gave it to him, I was like, come on, man. This guy's like known for that. How do you not know that that's going to be a flop?
How do you miss that call, right? And then Poole goes on the other side. Yeah.
The worst part about Schroeder is he has this smirk after he gets the call. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that little smile where it's like,
got away with it.
It's so annoying.
You ref for like 25 years. How are you still falling for it? I just don't really understand it. It feels like is it like a Pavlov's dog type of thing? Do they just like they see that shit and they automatically have to whistle? I don't know. It's disgusting.
Game's fast.
It's disgusting. The Lakers definitely earned more foul calls, but some of these calls down the stretch, my goodness.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next one.
Yeah. Ugh, need a Scott Foster.
Yo, long time listener, first time caller. Big fan, Sam and Andy. But just want to give Jordan Poole a little love. Kind of a crazy bad shot at the end, but a good recovery game because that King series had me feeling he was a goner. Maybe still a goner. Lakers are tall and big, but I'm confident. Warriors are adjusting. I am not remotely close to panicking. Hope you all are making the same commentary that we are far from a panic mode, and we got this.
Yeah.
All right, peace.
I think so.
Are
you panicked?
Nah, panic meter. If it's 1 to 10, in like where I was after Game 6 against the Kings was like a 7.
No,
I don't know.
More.
I was more annoyed than panicked. I
Okay.
wasn't worried they were going to lose. Sorry, Zach. I just wasn't.
Oh boy.
I'm probably at a 2.5 right now. Moderately annoyed.
Wow. I think I'm in the high 4s. I'm in the high 4s just because you lose home court at a Chase that you haven't lost a game all season. I think it puts you in. I mean, they lose game 2, the series is over. So I think I'm in the high 4s. But
I'll get from 2.5 to 8 real quick.
Oh, you're saying like you'll go fast. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm warming myself, right? I'm lubing up,
Yeah.
I could go high 4s to high 8s, right? I got to start in the 4 range. All right.
No, I'm asleep like a baby tonight. So
I know this is taboo, but at some point we just got to say it. Draymond is becoming a problem. We saw it last year in the finals. We saw it today. We saw it a little bit against Sacramento. He's becoming way too inconsistent. Today, the paint was clogged 6 ways to Sunday because LeBron and AD knew that we don't have a floor that can stretch the floor. We don't have a floor that's an offensive threat. Not to beat on the Otto Porter issue, but I think the deeper we go in the playoffs, the more that glaring need is beginning to show, in my opinion. The fact that we can't go Looney at the 5 with the 4 who can spread the floor, or Draymond at the 5 with the 4 who can spread the floor. We're having to go super small with the 3 guards, or mega small with the 4 guards and Wiggins or whatever. But to me, Draymond's inconsistency in the playoffs is becoming a problem. It's one day good, next game bad. It's just way too inconsistent for me. At some point like that has to be addressed. That really has to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's 2 different conversations to be had. When you want to talk about Draymond's next contract, I don't think max territory is a realistic conversation. But with that said, he's still a useful player. That doesn't mean he's not a flawed player. He's still a useful winning player. And to the listener's point, they could really use another front court guy who can do a little more on offense than the 2 of them, right? Like someone who could just provide a different look. I don't know that I put that on Draymond. I put that more on the roster,
Otto Porter Jr., what he's doing? Is he healthy? Is he good? Because he'd play this series, make a couple threes. To your point, or to our little. Yes,
I was gonna say Otto got a nice cast on his legs. Still,
I know he's out for season.
But
I mean, we had a debate earlier. Kuminga. I mean, right? Can he get out there and bang and do that? Maybe he's not ready apparently. So they're kind of out of guys. I mean, Draymond just kind of had a presser, and he's talking about how he felt out of rhythm because of foul trouble. They need Draymond to be great if they're going to win this series. They can't have this version, even though they almost won tonight, which is why I'm kind of like cautiously optimistic here. I mean, I picked the Warriors in 7, so it's not like the Warriors are going to win every freaking game. But they need him to play a lot better. Did you know, Sam, according to our guy, Alex Dubs408, that the Warriors have lost the first game in each of their last 3 series now? So,
I did know that.
That's
who they are now. New Warriors.
Feel-out game Warriors. It's like, I mean, didn't we steal that from LeBron when LeBron used to go fill-out game against Toronto every series in Atlanta? He would just lose.
Yeah, but he didn't lose. Oh no, but he did lose to the Warriors in the first game every time. So I always have that going for us.
Actually, every time.
Yeah.
Actually, every time.
This is the first time he's won game 1.
Well, good for him. Now that he has AD, who's a much better player than he is. Good for him.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving.
Hi, everybody. This is Robin. I'm calling from Guangzhou, China. And I got to say the best part about watching the playoffs in China is that you do it over lunch, and then you have the rest of the day to process it. I'm not too mad about that loss. My take about Jordan Poole's shot is that it was probably as good of a shot as they were going to get on that drive. Everybody was going to be covering Steph and Clay, and Jordan Poole was hot. So I'm not mad about it. My questions are whether Kuminga gets an attempt to play next game, and if you think that Draymond will bounce back, because except for the fourth quarter, I feel like he did not really perform that well. All right, thanks.
I'll go first. I actually feel pretty good about Draymond, just because he's one of the smartest players in the league. Speaking of guys who do a feel out and make adjustments, I do think, and he really did play pretty fucking bad most of the game. So I do think we'll get the Draymond game 2. We'll get some emotion. We'll get some histrionics, and he'll make himself felt a little more. I don't think this is going to be a great series for the stats for Draymond. Like, I don't see Draymond having a 20-point game against the Lakers.
What do you think about Dante?
It's a good question. I mean, he didn't really play too much tonight, did he? Right?
12 minutes ish. But when you're talking about, I know you're high on, or you were high on Kuminga playing. Like, I just think to myself, how do you kind of try to make life easier for someone like Draymond? And I'm just thinking of guys' minutes that just haven't been good. Like Dante had a wide open rim run and kicked it out for a 3, and he's not playing very well. Is that someone you look to take minutes out? GP2 played 12 minutes, and I thought, I always think GP2 plays well.
He gave them a solid stint, at least the first time through, I thought. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, you're down 1-0. If you win game 1, I think you give Kuminga a run just to see what it looks like. But right now, it's like, can you throw those minutes out there at the risk of going down 10 points in game 2 if he messes up, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I don't know. I kind of feel like game 2 is going to be a tighter rotation. And then if they even it up at 1-1, that might be the moment you try Kuminga.
In LA. Woo. Yeah.
He might respond to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, this is where
to this point here, Kuminga or Moody over Dante. I think it has to be Moody right now. Like they could just use, particularly against the Lakers, they just could use the spacing, honestly.
I think they could use some more energy out there. Spacing, yes, too, but they just need more guys that are just athletic. And I'm watching Christian Brown yesterday on Denver, and I know he's a different type of player. Everyone's in my mentions talking about, like, oh, he's 22. He played 3 years of college. I get it. But I think he's someone that he obviously knows how to play basketball. And he's just out there on the court in a playoff series in the second round against KD as a rookie. And that's where it's frustrating to me, where it's like,
you see what Mike Malone said?
I did. Please tell me I know what he said, but
you just want me to He said, "No, I'm not going to yank him. I don't want him thinking he's going to get pulled off the court the first time he makes a mistake." Anyway, this is an off-season conversation as far as I'm concerned.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
But I do think about that when I look at someone like Moses Moody, where I know that guy can play, and he had a rough season because he felt that way the whole way through. Yeah, the chat saying time for Tony Lamb. Yes, that's definitely not the answer. All right. Let's get to the next one.
Hey, Sam and Andy. It's MA from NJ. It's going to be a long series for the Dubs if they only take 6 free throws in a game compared to almost 30 for the Lakers. The other thing is, Steve Kerr, can we please just put the ball in Steph Curry's hand sometime prior to the start of the fourth quarter? Just makes no sense. The offense just doesn't work without him with the ball. Thanks. See you in game 2.
Maybe we should just end on this call. Maybe we should just call it a day.
I have nothing to add.
Put the ball in 30's hands.
Yes.
Stop getting cute. Just take care of your business. Worry about the other stuff later. All right. We'll be back, guys. Appreciate y'all.